We are so close to 2025. I really didn't think that I would encounter another five-star read. And then Never Let Me Go just casually strolls in and blows my mind. Blows it. Absolute perfection. Like, oh, what a book. What a book. This was my fourth read from Ishiguro and probably the best. It's difficult to say, like, does he have a bad book? I'm beginning to think that he doesn't, because I've heard like the most criticism of The Unconsoled. Like, I think a lot of people say that's his worst one. I've not read that one yet, but I have a hard time believing that it will be bad just because each one is so consistently amazing. Like, he's an amazing author. I shouldn't really even be surprised because I think this was the one the New York Times ranked it ninth on their infamous top 100 books of the 21st century. But even when they then made the readers version where we could all vote on it, this didn't change position. It was still ninth as like the top 100 best books of this century so far. And I think you could bump it up a few spaces. I think ninth is being too stingy. Didn't this win a Book Talk award as well? Don't quote me on that, but I feel like it did. Now, I'm going to need to preface what I say next by saying that if you have any desire to read this book untarnished by what I'm about to say about the book, turn off now. Just turn off now, because this book is very cloak and dagger. There's a big reveal. It's more satisfying if you go into it not knowing what to expect, because that's at least how I went into it. And I think if you did see behind the curtain now and then read the book, maybe it wouldn't be as enjoyable. Why does that sound so alien now? Enjoyable. Anyways, my point is this book has a lot of mystique, and if you go into it already knowing what's going to happen, you might not have as good a time with it as I did. So this is my warning. Spoilers are coming. Turn away now. Okay, so the book, Never Let Me Go. Whoa. Devastating. More similar to Clara and the Sun than I realised going into it, because all of his books so far that I've read have been so different to each other. They each feel like they could have been written by a different person. This was close enough to Clara and the Sun that I could like see the parallels. I mean, it's more or less the same book. It's just one is a robot and the other is clones. Because that's the big reveal, by the way. The book is full of euphemisms about these kids growing up in like Hailsham, this like private academy in the English countryside, and it's very idyllic and aesthetic and lovely, until you find out the big reveal that they are not, in fact, they are clones. They were born specifically to like be used later on in life to have their organs harvested and given to non-clones that need them. Isn't that bleak? So as I said, it's very Clara and the Sun. It has a lot of the same talking points about how do we define consciousness, the sanctity of life, does being a clone make your life any less valuable, that all that sort of stuff. And I think this is more impactful versus Clara and the Sun because that was a robot, so it felt a little bit more removed, because I feel like a clone is much closer to an actual human. Like, they're definitely more sentient as opposed to like a robot. I mean, maybe I'll feel differently in the next few decades when AI becomes much more prevalent in society. But at the moment, I think because it was a group of clones as well, like in Clara and the Sun, it's mainly just one robot. Here, because it's the group and you actually see the interpersonal relationships, it feels like so much more of a gut punch. Like, oh, to all of the people that think like The Fault in Our Stars is like a sad book, like all of that, like, oh, they both have terminal illnesses. Well, here is two people that fall in love but know from the jump, like know that their destiny is to be like thrown on the scrap heap just because that's like their whole raison d'etre. Like, they were born to be like cannon fodder, like to be harvested for modern medicine. Like, how bleak is that. Like, that is dystopian to the nines. Like, this is an S-tier dystopian book, I feel. And it's not... I wish more people hyped it up as such, because it really is. It's full-on dystopia. I can't stress how frustrating the first half of this book is as well, because it's really kept secret for so long. Like, you know something weird is going on at this academy at Hailsham, but you can't quite put your finger on it, because, as I said, everyone is speaking in euphemisms. There's a lot of, like, there's this one scene where, like, there's this woman called Madam who keeps showing up and collecting their art, like, because they keep drawing and painting and, like, writing poems and making music, and there's this woman who keeps taking some of it away, and they don't really know where it's going, like, just to some nondescript museum. And so there's all this mystery around that. But then there's this other scene, and it, like, informs the cover and the title, where our main character, Kathy, she finds, like, a VHS tape for a song. So it's like an album, but there's a song called Never Let Me Go, and she's, like, singing along to it in her bedroom, and Madam sees her and starts crying. And it's all about how, like, the implications of her having a soul. And you find out, like, at the end of the book that all of the people at Hailsham are trying to, like, prevent the clones from being, like, harvested, because they don't use the word harvested, they use a different word. It's like, they call them donations with the organs, but I think, is it completed? I think it's completed. There's so many, like, annoying sort of, like, bureaucratic terms that are used as a euphemism, and it was really interesting because that's what made it so real, like the way the government will sort of rose tint the darker things that are happening behind the scenes. Like, it was so upsetting. It's so rare for me to enjoy a romance book, because I suppose for all intents and purposes this is a romance book. Like, there's a love triangle, we have, like, friends to lovers, we have Tommy and Kathy, who are, like, best friends, but then Tommy's girlfriend Ruth is, like, Kathy's best friend, and she's, like, a bit of an obstacle through most of the story, because she can probably tell that they're much closer than she is to Tommy, and so she's being, like, as difficult as possible, because there's a rumour that's going around that if you can prove that two clones are in love, then they get their organ donation delayed, and then that gets completely debunked at the end of the book, because there was a second where you think, oh, the book's going to end in a happy way, like, we're going to find out that that is a real thing, and that because Kathy and Tommy are in love, they don't have to, they get a little time to be with each other before they eventually die. No, not the case at all. Tommy, get your organs out. Oh, so horrifying, but emotional and clever, and I love this type of book where it's sci-fi, like, it's lit fic, but it's not, like, boring lit fic. It's lit fic that's exploring, like, speculative fiction. There, I think that's hit the nail on the head. Speculative fiction. Like, I wish more of these, like, really sort of highbrow talented authors explored more, like, fantastical, supernatural, technological concepts. Like, give me something that's a little different, you know, but still in that beautiful writing that you're so synonymous for. I was in a bookshop with one of my friends not too long ago, and I remember telling her, I said, I think Ishiguro is the best writer living. And she thought that was, like, a huge statement. And it is, but I stand by it. This book cements it. Who is doing it better that's currently alive? Who's doing it better? No one. No one's on this level. Like, just, come on. This was... no notes. I need to go watch the film. It will probably not be as good, but I just love this story too much.